Several years ago, I faced a difficult professional decision. After weeks of thinking it over, I decided to meet with a colleague, someone I respected. I thought the conversation would follow a familiar pattern. I'd explain the problem, they'd tell me what they thought I should do, problem solved. Instead, in this instance, they simply listened. Apparently, they'd been studying coaching. As I spoke, they remained fully engaged. They maintained eye contact and they resisted the urge to interrupt. And they asked thoughtful questions, questions that helped me explore my thinking. What impressed me most was that they seemed to be interested not only in the words that I was saying, but they also seemed to be able to interpret the real meaning behind those words. Several times they reflected back what I had heard from their own perspective, which proved to be revealing to me. They said things like, "It sounds like you're less concerned about the work itself and more concerned about losing flexibility. You seem to be torn between two options. And what do you think the consequences might be of that action?" Their comments reassured me. It seemed they truly understood what I was trying to communicate. I felt heard. And as the conversation continued, my thinking became clearer. The solution emerged not because they gave me advice, but because their listening had helped me to discover it for myself. When they left, I felt encouraged, respected, and more confident in my decision. That experience taught me an important lesson. Sometimes the greatest help we can offer another person is not our answers, but our full attention. When someone truly listens, they create space for clarity, confidence, and growth. Looking back, I now realize that what I had witnessed was that when someone engages real listening skills in action, it can make a real difference in both interpersonal relationships and growth. Welcome to week 18 of the Pathfinder Campus weekly blog series. I'm Barry Morgan, and together with Jessica Locke and Gord Sarkissian, we've developed a community that supports students beginning their career paths and adults in the midst of a career transition. Our weekly blog series is designed to provide helpful tips and guidance as you navigate a major life change, and we hope you'll allow us to join you on your journey. I think we've all been there. Someone is telling you something important, a manager giving feedback, a colleague explaining a problem, an interviewer describing the role, and halfway through you realize you've already started to compose your response. You didn't hear the second half. You were too busy getting ready to talk. That moment happens to almost everyone. And in a career context, it costs more than most people realize. Today, we're talking about listening skills, what they actually are, why they're one of the most underrated professional skills you can build. Let's look at how we can start getting better at them right now. Let's look at what listening skills actually are. But first, here's what listening is not. It's not staying quiet while someone talks. It's not waiting for your turn. And it's definitely not just hearing the words. Listening is an active mental process. It means that you are working to understand what someone's actually communicating. Their meaning, of course, but also their intent, and sometimes the thing that's underneath the words that they chose. Here's a concrete example. A colleague says, I guess I'm fine with the deadline. A passive listener hears yes. An active listener, on the other hand, notices the hesitation in the sentence and asks a follow up question. They discover, in fact, there's a concern worth surfacing, and they're able to do so before it becomes a problem. When you allow yourself to be a weak listener, people sense it. They stop bringing you their real thoughts. Your manager gives you what seems to be just the surface version. Your teammates stop raising concerns. You start getting decisions wrong, not because your information is incorrect, but because what you're working with is incomplete and you don't even know it. When you're a strong listener, on the other hand, the opposite happens. People trust you with more. You get better information earlier. You make fewer assumptions. And in interviews, good listening is probably one of the clearest signals of emotional intelligence. And that's something that hiring managers are specifically watching for. Good listening is not just a soft skill, it's a strategic skill that determines the quality of every professional relationship you have. The most common trap to good listening is this: people confuse being interested with actually listening. You can care about what someone's saying and still be processing your own thoughts at the same time. Interest is a feeling. Listening, on the other hand, is a practice. Here's a quick test. After a conversation, can you accurately summarize what the other person has said, including how they felt about it? Not just the facts, but the meaning of what they were trying to convey. If that's hard to do, that's the gap. The reframe is simply this: listening is something you do on purpose. It's intentional, not something that just happens when you like someone enough. So, how can you work with this? Here are three things that can actually help improve your listening skills. First, get curious before you get ready. When someone starts talking, resist the urge to prepare your response. Instead, ask yourself, what is this person trying to tell me? Stay in their story just a little longer before you try to shift to yours. Second, reflect before you respond. Try a one sentence recap before you reply. So, what I'm hearing is, doesn't have to be formal, just has to be genuine. This one habit alone will change how people experience conversations with you. And third, listen to the emotion, not just the content. Pay attention to what the person isn't saying directly: the hesitation, the emphasis, the thing they keep returning to. That's often where the real meaning lies. You don't need to do all of these three perfectly all the time. Start with one. Pick the conversation where you need to show up most fully and practice there first. So, what's next? Listening well is one of the simplest ways to change how you're experienced as a professional and how much people will trust you with. This week's deep dive on Tuesday goes further into what active listening actually looks like in professional situations and why most people underestimate how hard it is to do well. We'll explore the concept further at our weekly meeting at 7 p.m. in the community meeting room at pathfindercampus.ca. Everyone's welcome, and we would be delighted to see you there so we could share ideas and hear your questions. On Thursday, we'll post a practical exercise that walks you through a 30-minute listening audit, a surprisingly eye-opening look at your own habits. And on Saturday, we post a reflection piece to allow you to sit with the question of what it actually feels like to be truly heard and why that matters more than we will usually admit. You already know how to talk. Now it's time to home in on becoming really good at the other half of what should be really meaningful communication.